Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Now, the holidays can be a whirlwind of too much drinking, overeating, sugar overload, late nights, and stress. And by the time January rolls around, you might be feeling bloated, fatigued, anxious, and down in the dumps. The combination of all that indulgence takes a toll on your body, especially your hormones, and it can leave you feeling drained and out of balance. But the new year is the perfect time to hit the reset button. Now, imagine waking up refreshed and clear headed without the fog of regret or exhaustion weighing you down. You feel light in your body, free from bloating, and your mind is sharp and focused. You're no longer white knuckling it through cravings. Alcohol doesn't hold power over you anymore. You know exactly what your body needs to feel balanced and calm, and your hormones are finally working with you, not against you. No more mystery PMS, surprise mood swings, or random energy crashes. You're in tune, in control, and full of gratitude for how far you've come. Your body feels nourished, your spirit feels peaceful, and your confidence is soaring because you know you did this and you're never looking back. This could be you. I am so excited to announce Nourish and Flourish, my New Year's program that is a game changer for women ready to hit the reset button and transform their health. Let's face it, trying to stop drinking, balance your hormones, and feel your best while juggling life can feel overwhelming. Alcohol is a sneaky crutch that affects your hormones, energy, and mood. You might be struggling with stress, weight gain, fatigue, and disrupted sleep, and not even realize alcohol could be part of the problem. The good news, with the right mindset shifts and detox strategies, you can break free, reset your body, and restore balance. My new program, Nourish and Flourish, is designed to help you first detox the holidays, reframe your relationship with alcohol, and balance your hormones. They are all tied together. And when you get there, you can take back control of your mental and physical health so you can lose weight, feel energized, be clear headed, and ready to take on what's next. It's time to start the year feeling your best. Let's reset, recharge, and thrive together. Head over to my show notes and click the link to join Nourish and Flourish, where you will get my early bird discount rate. The program will run January 6th through the 31st, and I've never done this before, but you will get access to both of my signature courses, Brave and Balance, when you sign up for Nourish and Flourish. This comprehensive program is a game changer to help you detox, ditch alcohol, and get your hormones balanced. This is your year. I hope you join me. Hey everybody, I'm excited for today's guest, Joe Chura, the founder of Go Brewing. So a little bit about Joe. Joe went from an assembly line worker at a car factory to selling a tech company he started in his basement for more than $150 million to cars.com. A drinking problem clouded his success story, and he decided to completely overhaul his relationship with alcohol, which dramatically changed his life. He went on to launch Go Brewing, which is now one of the fastest growing NA breweries in the country. He trained with the Navy SEALs, takes part in several extreme fitness events, trained with Wim Hof. I guess you could say his life now looks completely different. I'm excited for you to hear his story. And if you are interested in trying Go Brewing, head on over to gobrewing.com and enter code ELLY15 for 15% off. That's ELLY 15. Now, on to the show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. I have an awesome guest today. I'm really excited for you to hear his story. Joe Chura, the founder of Go Brewing. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Ellie.
Oh, I was so excited that you reached out and I started deep diving on your story and your Go Brewing new beer, and I'm really non-alcoholic beer, and I'm excited to try it and hear more. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, it was definitely an evolution. I think the short answer to that is in 2020, my wife and I, during the height of COVID, really woke up and were like, enough's enough. We were drinking way too much. We were eating too much. We were just taking on all these bad habits and felt like we had an excuse to do so. And so we looked in the mirror and we stepped on a scale and we're just like, this isn't right. So I decided to do a challenge where we abstained from alcohol for 75 days. And about 20 days into it, I felt incredible. I felt like I had superpowers. I'm more mentally clear than ever before, had less anxiety. And when I looked back at that moment and I did a snapshot of my life, there hadn't been a moment in time that I went more than maybe a few days without drinking. So I was constantly under this cloud of alcohol, but not really realizing it. And it opened my eyes to how much potential I felt in my life. And I did fairly good on like the business side of things, but on the health side, I ranked myself like a D minus. Like I just put my health as the lowest priority. And I have young kids and I want to be there for them. I started to think about like, what's the point of being successful in business or being an entrepreneur or doing all these things if you're going to die of a heart attack in a few years because you're out of shape and not taking care of yourself. So during this process, though, I had these massive cravings for non-alcoholic or for beer and for alcohol because I developed these habits over decades. And, uh, and the only thing that I found to curb my craving was non-alcoholic beer. It like did this thing where I felt like I was having a beer. I got through the night, which was the hardest thing. And then that next morning, I woke up and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't drink last night. I felt so good. But then by 5 o'clock, by 6 o'clock, I'd have these cravings again. So I was like fine during the day. And then at night, they come back hard. And weekends, they come back hard because that's my body and my mind was so used to that. And, uh, and then that kind of manifested and the kind of found some like signs of the universe to like send me to explore what it would be like to make our own product. You know, I saw a gap in the market in that there wasn't a lot of unique styles out there. There wasn't a lot of people making their own product. And I knew that if I could differentiate that, I knew enough how to build a brand and how to sell online that we could at least get started there. And that's kind of how it started.
That's very cool. I can totally relate. I pickled myself throughout 2020, and that's when my journey started too. It was actually the dry January going to 2021. No intention of like quitting forever, but I tried a dry January and I failed. I couldn't get through it. And I was a tequila and rum drinker. I wasn't a beer drinker, but my husband was. And I just that the challenge that I was facing internally with myself, not being able to like do this was so I could do a lot of other things in my life, but this one was particularly hard. And I finally started reading all the quit lit books and stuff and got some help. And in February, I stopped drinking altogether and never looked back. And I can totally relate to the fog lifting and the clarity that you experience. Um, and my message was to go on to coach and to like pass this on to other people because I was so inspired by my transformation, not only for myself, my health, but my family's. So I love hearing your story. And I love that you decided to go into like business, making your own. Did you have any experience with brewing or that kind of chemistry project that it is?
No, the only experience I had with beer is drinking it. I drank too much of it. I did have experience in building a couple of successful businesses, and I did have knowledge and a huge passion for creation, like building something from nothing. Also wanted to build my next product or, before that I was building software and it was more business to business. I wanted to do something to help other people. So that was a big like driver for me. And the fact that I knew how to sell online, my businesses were in the digital marketing realm. And ever since as a kid, I was like infatuated with computers and like just really knew that side of the business. And when I found out you can sell non-alcoholic beer online, I said that no matter what, even if we never get in one retailer, I know I could build this company and be able to sell online this product. I mean, that was like looking back, it was a pretty naive thing to think because shipping beverages is not the easiest thing across the country. But at the same time, it gave me enough confidence to really start. And then from there, I was like, okay, what's the appropriate level of risk? And that's what I tell people all the time. It's not like you don't necessarily have to go all in and but take like an appropriate level of risk. And then, hey, if it's working out, then take a step up. And that's really how I looked at it. But I didn't really know anything about beer, and I did not have time to learn how to not only brew regular beer, but how to brew non-alcoholic beer. So I hired a brewer, really worked in my garage for all of 2022, brought in some consultants, hired a lab quality person, and literally where my wife's car was now was like an electrical panel and a small makeshift brewery. And that's how it's,
Wow.
yeah.
That's very cool. Now, I was watching a couple of your reels on Instagram, and it's a really cool Instagram. If you check out Go Brewing, you guys, you also have a lot of like, I think it's CrossFit stuff in there. So
High rocks. Yeah. Uh,
okay, is that similar to CrossFit? I'm not familiar.
it's similar. It's a different sport that's taken off. It's like a fitness race. It's going to be all across the country. It was just in Anaheim, not too far from where you're at, but it's going to be in New York, Vegas. There's a bunch of them, but it's CrossFit like in the sense of like you're pushing weights but you're doing a lot more running.
Okay, I love it. I'm interested in that. I'm a former college soccer player, so I think there's a really unique space of people who have pushed themselves physically in
Yeah.
some realm of the world who also, I don't like to use the word in recovery, but who have also pushed their limits with alcohol in some form, and then now are like, where else can I push myself now that alcohol's not in the picture? Um,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've done ultra races and you just look around and it's guys with like tattoos and you could just tell like they've replacing bad habit with something that's a lot more healthy. And you're absolutely right. It's like there is a correlation there.
Yeah, I think I've heard Huberman Lab talk about it a touch, and it's something. It's he calls it dopaminergic personalities, and it's not a personality type. They haven't been able to prove that addictive personality type, but there is some hereditary component to this dopaminergic where you seek it and pursue it, and you can like tolerate it at higher levels. And so, some people get more energized with alcohol, and other people can get more like subdued and sedated. I'm definitely one of the like I go up. Um,
Yeah, same here.
yeah. um, I wanted to know. So I was curious. I didn't really understand the whole idea between 0% beers. You said like a Heineken Zero and the like non-alcoholic beer. Like, what's the difference there?
Did you happen to watch that last video we did?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like has to be under 0.5, but then
Yeah,
something that it's actually less than apple juice. The apple juice
yeah,
is more
good.
alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting when you do videos because you try to like distill it down so it makes sense. So I'm glad the question came up. And this is something I didn't know, like many things in the space, but there's for all intents and purposes like three categories of beer. There's non-alcoholic beer, which is what you'd look at like Heineken Zero, Bud Zero, anything with zero or that says alcohol free really should have zero alcohol in it. Now, there's an argument that there's still trace amounts, like, but you're not even talking about 0.5%, or you're talking about 0.005. But for all intents and purposes, zero or 0% alcohol free, um, anything that uses the word zero in it should have no alcohol. And then there's non-alcoholic beer or beverages, and that is anything under 0.5% alcohol. So that could be anything from 0.1% to 0.49%. When it crosses that 0.49 to zero point 0.5, then it turns into alcohol. So
Okay.
literally the difference between our product and a beer, if someone's like, it's not a beer, it's like a 1% difference. And
Okay.
as you saw in that video, we have a video where we literally had to throw away a lot of beer because it crossed that threshold to to be alcohol, and we couldn't really do anything with it because I couldn't sell it. Our audience is not into non-alcoholic beverages, so obviously there was nothing I could have done. So the best thing I could have done was just cut my losses at that moment. And 0.5% is equivalent for anyone who's like, oh, that feels like a lot of alcohol. So what's in orange juice, apple juice, breads? You can just Google, don't take my word for it, what everyday foods have alcohol, and you'd be surprised. There's so much that has more alcohol than non-alcoholic beer. There's some things that have 1% alcohol, but the reality is like you're not going to eat 30 pieces of bread and get in,
Yeah.
to the point where you're intoxicated, nor are you going to drink 30 non-alcoholic beers. You can have 10 non-alcoholic beers, and that is a small fraction of, what it would take to get intoxicated.
And is that the natural occurring alcohol in products? Is that just fermentation?
Yeah, there's different ways to make beer in line with those categories. So the only way to get to zero is you have to use machinery to process out the alcohol. So you make a regular beer and literally have to go through this process, and it takes a lot of utilities. It can create like off flavors. Certainly, like Guinness Zero and a few others do a great job with it. And then there's non-alcoholic beer. And if you watched our process, you'd be like, this is very similar to making regular beer. And it is. It's the same exact process. We just use a different grain bill, time, temperature, and ratio, and kind of perfected it, not perfected, but kind of like worked on a methodology to make sure it stayed under that 0.5%, but still stayed true to style.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some people have a hard time with this, like any product that has even trace amounts, even like drinking kombucha. Where does kombucha fall?
It's kind of interesting. It doesn't get governed under the same place as we do in the TTB, the Tobacco and Trade Bureau. They are under another set of guidelines by the FDA. So they do have to say like under, this does have alcohol, it's under 0.5%, but many kombuchas have more alcohol than our non-alcoholic beers. So that's a great example of something that is in every store and you wouldn't even think about it.
Right.
But the reality is and certainly like this is not advice, but what I've seen, because 80% of our customer base, it drinks in moderation, but 20% are completely sober. And what I've seen is that, many people will it's not the alcohol in it that is kind of the driver that can put you on the a higher probability to relapse. It is the taste, the flavor, the experience, hey, I'm drinking these, it tastes like the real thing. Let me just have a shot of whatever. Like it's that more than anything. But because the alcohol really is so minute, that it's not going to have a huge impact. That said, everyone's different. The one thing I learned in this space is that people are on a spectrum. So you have a spectrum of people that should never walk into a bar, never even consider it. And then you have a spectrum of people that live for it. And
Yeah.
and wherever you fall there is like your own personal choice. But a lot of our folks, I was surprised to see, are completely sober.
Yeah. Well, and I was surprised, but that 80% though are moderate. And I often wonder, are they just kind of on the way to getting alcohol free or desire to be alcohol free, but they're not quite fully there yet. Um, yeah, I love that. And I've definitely had people who, well, myself, because I was a hard alcohol drinker, I didn't want non-alcoholic beverages trying to mimic alcohol. And I think because alcohol is inherently nasty, like I don't want
Mhm.
to taste tequila. Like even though some people can say, oh, like the mezcals and all these things and like pairing them. And I'm like, it just reminded me too much of being drunk. And so I never wanted to get too close to something tasting like the real deal. But I would say majority of my clients love non-alcoholic beer. And it's like that thirst quenching and it's the cultural aspect of it. It's the ritual. And I think it's one of the number one tools for people to help get over those cravings is to just do everything you're doing the same. Just replace your beverage with a non-alcoholic beverage and the craving will go away because you're still participating. When people try to abstain completely and they remove themselves from social environments that are too triggering, then they get into that place of deprivation where they're like, I'm missing out on all of it. And it's like, no, you can still participate, but just substitute your beverage and you will like it diminishes cravings by a lot.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. Like last night, I was out to dinner and I had a craving for a beer and it's my birthday. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's every reason I could have a drink. And this place I went to, they had our product on the menu, ordered one of those. Craving went down, ordered another one, just dissipated. By the time I thought about it again, I was eating my meal, it just kind of went away. Versus, a few years ago, I would have got the bottle of wine, poured a bottle of wine, maybe entertained a second bottle. And it was just like between me and my wife, right? Like wasn't atypical to do that. And
Right.
it is atypical. And, I still drink in moderation, but not anywhere near what I used to. And I really think about it and be mindful of those situations.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know. So you still are, see, that's how my husband is. Since I quit almost 4 years ago, and I'm an all or nothing person in a lot of things in my life, but he was not. But he gradually stepped down to the place where he'll go like a month without drinking, and then he'll have a client dinner and he'll drink. And he is more punished now from like the time he spends off. And then the one night he does drink, he pays for it considerably.
No, and that's 100% accurate. And as time goes on, that span, like your husband, the month, I went 6 months earlier this year, and then I just happened to be in this position where I was with my wife and I made a conscious decision, but it just even the thought of thinking that. So anyone listening to your podcast that I know most of the people are sober, but for the folks that aren't, like if you did slip up or if it's really hard to comprehend, like how do you get there? It's by taking it. And I think you build those streaks. And it's
Right.
so much easier when you have a streak behind you to be like, hey, I went 10 days. And from
Yeah.
10 days to 15 days, it's a lot easier. And 15 to 20 is easier than that. And next time the next thing you know, you're just I don't even need a drink anymore. Like, what's the point of it?
Yeah, yeah. I always say it's never about perfection because it's always going to be a gradual process. And once you get enough time under your belt and you experience that perspective shift of, whoa, I don't have a hangover. Whoa, I have energy. Whoa, I'm not bloated and dehydrated and like foggy all the time. Like you have to give yourself that gift. And that's why I love this time of year, dry January, when it rolls around and people are out of the ordinary more motivated to attempt something like this. And if you can just get them to just get that 30-day break. I mean, 60 is even better, 90 is even better. And that's when you start to see these transformative shifts in your health and your mental space and your entire life transforms. So did you use any type of program? It was just a challenge. It was more like a
Mhm.
fitness type challenge.
It was called 75 Hard. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So for your audience who may not be, it's 75 days and there's 10 different rules. And one of those, the hardest for me was you can't drink any alcohol for 75 days. You have to follow a diet. You have to drink a gallon of water, which is really tough for some people. For me, that was pretty easy. You have to read 10 pages of a book. And there's a few other things, but oh, you have to work out twice a day. So, and one time it has to be outside. So that's another big thing for people. But for me, by far and away, the hardest was alcohol. Part of that was my workout inside was 45 minutes and outside at minimum I would just go for a walk. Like,
Yeah.
so it's self-police. No one's policing you, but it it was really that and it just opened my eyes. And it was one of those things that maybe you could appreciate this too, that my wife and I would always say, like, the diet starts Monday or next week.
Mm.
And as I started to see and observe people in their language, especially in like a corporate setting, because company I had built was acquired by a larger public company, and we would go around and we had these manager meetings, and everyone would say next week, and I'm like, I raised my hand and I'm like, next week is where things go to die.
Yeah.
So I applied that to business, but I didn't apply it to my life. And then when that resonated with me, that I'm saying next week, I'm saying tomorrow, I'm saying the diet starts Monday, it's kind of like there's a sign in like Lake Tahoe in downtown Truckee, and it's above this barn that says free beer tomorrow. And it's a permanent sign.
Yeah.
it's kind of like that, where it's like you wake up the next day, it's free beer tomorrow. It's never starts. And if it
Right.
starts, it's fleeting. So it was kind of that where it's like enough's enough, and ended up losing a ton of weight, started to get in shape. I started to look way better, and I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of proud of how I'm looking. And then that just kind of fed itself, because then I'd write about it and I would talk about it. I'd clearly show the before and after, which is something we even show in our videos today, our marketing videos, because it's like I'm just a normal dude who's in his 40s, like trying to be a good dad and trying to, build a business. And alcohol was just taking me away from my goals, not helping me achieve them in any sort of meaningful way.
Yeah, I don't think there could be a more like enemy number one in every aspect of whatever you're trying to achieve. And for so many women in this decade, it is your health just kind of goes haywire because our hormones are on the fritz. And it's like, if they're doing everything right, my audience is fairly healthy. Like they're all trying to diet, they're all trying to exercise, eat right, do all the things, but yet they still enjoy their wine and they still enjoy their cocktails. It's how we reward ourselves, you know,
Mhm.
it's built into the culture of being a mother. And um it's like that one linchpin, you can remove the alcohol and like all of a sudden all your efforts start stacking up. And before you were just barely breaking even. And that's how it
Mhm.
was for me. Like my health completely transformed just in time for me to get into perimenopause, which is a whole nother exciting. Yeah, if you want to like go into business, the next like marketing frontier here that has a ton of room for growth is perimenopause space, women's health. We could use, you should come up with a adaptogenic drink, an NA beer here that is geared towards a woman's cycle, like a one for the first half of her cycle when estrogen's on the rise and one for the back half.
All
Even
right.
even if it's just marketing, even if it's just literally like this, ladies, this is what you want during this phase, and this is what you want during this phase, I swear it would sell. And I'd promote it for you.
What kind of adaptogens would work in that case?
Ooh, so when estrogen's on the rise, you definitely you can tolerate a little more
I'm
stress.
making notes, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So when estrogen's on the rise, your body in general can tolerate a little more stress. Diet wise, you kind of lean into more healthy fats, low carbohydrate, ketogenic style. So you could do maybe more of like a caffeinated, I don't know, some type of beverage there. And then in the back half, it's all about stress relief. We really want to like, we're boosting progesterone, and progesterone does not like stress. There's a saying, when cortisol's high, progesterone's shy. And that's why women get bad PMS. So we want to eliminate so as much stress as possible. So there's like theanine, magnesium, oh my gosh, what are all the other calming, ashwagandha, that kind of stuff. That would be an excellent back half of your cycle um, drink for women.
So we actually have one of the first beers. It's a gluten-free beer made with ashwagandha and L-theanine.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
called Freedom Amber. The caveat to that is, or the warning is, that ashwagandha has this really earthy taste to it.
Okay.
It's pronounced in the beer. Some people will love it. Some people don't love it. But it's truly in there. We're actually going to have a whole line of beers that we're coming out with that are all functional.
I love it. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
So, so I'm serious. Like the caffeinated and the like, we could do that. Like we're
Wow,
already doing it. Yeah.
that is cool. So wait, I don't know if there's any adaptogenic beers out there. Are there or non-alcoholic beer?
No, I don't think so. The issue that most breweries have is if they're making alcohol, then you can't do certain things.
Okay.
You can't add certain things in the beer. Because we make a gluten-free, non-alcoholic beer, it's not governed under the TTB, it's governed under the FDA. So now it's would be under the same guises like HIO, or you mentioned, or Recess, or the same body, governmental body that governs them would govern us. So we're able to do things like that. Be more
You
exclusive.
have you have on your hands there a lady targeted product. If it's gluten free, because a lot of my clients, so I actually just got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, like totally out of nowhere. So now I have to be gluten free. I thought I was like already mostly gluten free until I had to like be really strict, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot harder than it looks. So gluten free, yes, okay, I definitely want
We,
to try that one. The
so
freedom. Offer.
yeah, and for your audience too, there's on our website, every beer we have is under the gluten-free guidelines. It's under 20 parts per million in gluten. So consider those like gluten friendly. Technically, under the FDA, they're considered gluten-free, but I would not say that because they're made with gluten. We do have two beers that are not made with gluten at all, made with millet and buckwheat. Those are both called Freedom. One's Freedom West Coast Ale, and the other one's Freedom Amber. Amber's the one with adaptogens in them. You can just
Oh,
go to the website, you can see they're both called Freedom. You could read about our process. I didn't even realize this, but we're one of the only breweries that actually makes a non-alcoholic beer without gluten in it at all. So,
wow.
yeah, it's just something we've done because right when we came out with our first batches of beer in 23, we we asked, you know, asked for feedback, and the number one question we got is, "Can you make something gluten free?" And went to the brewer, and a lot of credit to him. He figured out how to do it, and it's one of our top sellers. It's the top seller on Amazon as well.
That is so cool. I love that. And, I just think it's serendipitous. My company's called Find Myself Free. So
Mm.
I would love to give some Freedom Amber. I put together for my clients when they first start with me a little goodie bag, and I include like my favorite mocktails, but I would love to include a little, do you have 6 packs, 4 packs? How do you package them?
Yeah, we have six packs, and you can get 6 packs of each of those. If you wanted to mix it up, like let me know. I can work something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really cool to include. Little play on words there. All right, so tell me about, I'm looking at in your background here. I love your can art, and I'm a sucker for just like cool looking cans.
Yeah, we really wanted to have, as I walk away from the mic, have cans that stand out from the crowd, have a little edgier feel. Some showing on video now are Salty AF Chelada as one example, but all of our cans now have this look and feel, have a little edgy name. Like we have Damn Good Oktoberfest, and we had Funkin' Pumpkin, and we just have these like fun names of the beers. So the whole idea is you're walking around a party, you have this in your hand. No one can tell it's not alcoholic beer. You could barely see it on the label. However, when you go into a store and purchase our product, the cartons make it extremely clear that this is non-alcoholic beer because we don't want people, you know,
Right.
grabbing something they think is alcohol, which does happen too. But yeah, that's the whole idea. And a lot of our cans have the names have stories behind them of people, real events that have happened with those people that are inspirational, and we
Yeah.
talk about those and post them on the website too.
Very cool. Yeah, I love cool cans because one, it makes people not question whether you're not drinking or not, if that's an issue for some people. But two, it's part of that ritual of feeling like you're enjoying something special. Part of drinking for people is this reward aspect. And so if you're for a lot of people, I'm like, put it in a pretty glass, add your accoutrements, still doll it up, especially this time of year when it's the holidays and you want something festive. But like the cool can does that for you. It's like it has to be
Mhm.
special. It has to feel like you're treating yourself to something good at the end of the day. And that just plays on that subconscious programming around like I'm rewarding myself. Like, my work is over. This is how I'm going to reward myself. Um, what else did I want to say about the cans there? Oh, you know what I think's interesting in the stores? I have to hunt for my husband's non-alcoholic beer in the middle of the beer aisle
Hmm.
at Bristol Farms. And I literally was like, isn't there should be like its own section, or at least down at the end of the row, at least where they're like, it was literally in the middle. And to your point, like I couldn't really tell from the packaging. You have to like really look on there, like to make sure it's NA.
Yeah, a lot of grocery stores now have dedicated aisles to NA. I know a lot in Chicagoland do, so I'm sure that's coming soon near you.
Yeah.
It depends really on the where you're at, but I agree with you, and that's why we redesigned our packaging. We were very intentional with calling out the stuff that matters of like the flavor profiles, what you can expect, the calorie count. Because inherently, the calories are a fraction of what regular beer is, just because alcohol has a lot of calories per gram,
Yeah.
and uh, and that allows it to stand out more. But even that said, if it was in the sea of you know the 1,000 different brews at some of these places, like it'd be hard to distinguish it.
What is the calorie count of your, I'm sure they all vary a little.
They do. They can vary from like 30 to 40 calories to our highest regular beer is just a little over 100, and that's our Sunshine State. And the only reason that's higher is because it has real mango and peach in it. So any of our fruited beers have fruit that is literally like pureed and put in there. And any beers without fruit don't have any additional sugar. So it's less than 1 gram of sugar, less than 1 gram of fat. I mean, there's really essentially almost as sugar free as possible. If they do have fruit in them, obviously that you're going to get some calories from that fruit because there's the natural sugar within that.
That's very cool. That's why they're so popular in your fitness circles, right? These low cal, no alcohol beers.
They're great for recovery. Again, someone could Google this, but if you Google like NA beer post recovery, there's been a lot of studies, notable one in Germany where they did tests comparing alcoholic beer to non-alcoholic beer post like workout or post big event for marathon runners, and can clearly see the recovery benefits of non-alcoholic beer because it has all of the kind of good stuff in it, but it doesn't have any alcohol, which can obviously set you back.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, I've obviously seen the tradition of people like pounding real beers after races, which I was always like, whoa, that's the worst recovery plan ever. Although I'm one of those people who have ran half marathons and gone wine tasting after, which I
Yeah.
don't recommend. That's like some of the worst hangovers I've ever had. Um, but so what isn't in it? Is it like electrolytes? Is it like the minerals?
Yeah, there's just natural potassium and sodium in these, which if you look at what an electrolyte is, it's a
Yeah.
lot of these elements, and it has them naturally through the process of using grains and what's maltose. And the end product is something that is really a lot of like it's relatively lower carb, but it's carbs at the end of the day. There's no fat or there's not a lot of protein in these. So it's really getting those essential carbohydrates. I mean, I wouldn't go on a diet and not eat and just drink any beer, but at the same time, like it's a really good post-recovery drink.
That is so interesting. I'm gonna use that as like new info to pass around because I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I would grab that study too. It's just Google like the German study for it, and they it's a long study, but it's a good one, and it reiterates what I said.
You know what I'm thinking now too? You know how they used to recommend that pregnant women drink like a Guinness, and
Hmm.
we all know that's not a great idea now. But I wonder if non-alcoholic beer would be a good option for pregnant women if there's some sort of nutrient. I mean, I guess the potassium's great. All the electrolyte minerals are great
Yeah,
for anyone.
we have quite a lot of pregnant women that come into our brewery and that order online too, and you can see kind of the comments. And then we ask survey questions, and part of that sober number are people that just don't drink or can't drink. And I would consider that bucket like people that either are going through cancer or on medication or in a pregnancy.
Oh, wow. Cool. And so that even the trace amounts, I think a lot of people need to be clear on this. Like the trace amounts that are found in these NA beers is still not going to affect you like on a cellular level if you have some type of adverse reaction to alcohol.
I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but I can say that it factually like these beverages have less alcohol than many everyday juices and things you're consuming anyway. So it's the alcohol in these beverages should do nothing as far as that. Obviously consult with your doctor or a physician, but you're talking trace amounts, and if you're gonna have one or two of them, you're not, it's like having one or two apples or glasses of juice.
Yeah. Well, I am really excited to try these and introduce them to my husband and my clients. I think they're going to love this product, and I'm all about the new stuff out there, trying the new stuff. It keeps it exciting. It keeps the
Yeah.
alcohol-free living world, entertaining and exciting. So is there anything else you want to like leave our audience with? Anything you want to point us to?
Yeah, you can purchase any of our products online at gobrewing.com. we have distribution stores and restaurants in 20 states, including Colorado, which I know, Ellie, some of your fans are from. We're not in California yet in shelves, but we're working on it for 2025. But we are all along the East Coast, a lot of chains. We're actually launching Costco, 100 Costco stores pretty soon here, and really just trying to get the brand out there. So highly encourage you to check it out on the website. The website, you'll always be able to get more of a variety. We have 10 to 14 different styles, and we make all our own product here. So it's like we control the quality, we control what we're creating, like just taking notes from our conversation, like that can turn into something very quickly because we design our own packaging and we have our own ingredients and we make our own products. So we're constantly trying to innovate. You could also find us on Amazon, but yeah, I mean, our number one market outside of Illinois is California. So depending on how many people that you have there that purchase online, and you can use the code ELLY for 15% off too. And I'm sure you can include that in the show notes.
Yeah. So that's my name, guys. Ellie, 15%, Ellie with a Y. And I just want to say this would make awesome Christmas presents. So for a lot of these, I love to buy all sorts of different non-alcoholic beverages this time of year and bring them to all the parties. And again, when they're cool looking like this and there's a cool can, it makes for an exciting, like fun gift. Like, ooh, what is that? Like sparks curiosity. You might be able to tip the scales of a few people who are kind of like sober curious. And it's fun. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing some of these.
And we do have, for those that want the 0%, we do have a hot water that is truly 0%. It's sold out right now, but it'll be back online in a few days from this conversation. So that'll be there. And we're just coming out with other things heading into next year. So it's going to be exciting. Like I said, we're going to have a full line of functional beers with different ingredients and adaptogens in them as well.
That is so cool. It's not even going to be considered like a beer anymore. We might have to rebrand and not call it a beer because if it's
I
like
know.
post-recovery drink, it's
I
okay
know.
for pregnant women, cycling women who want to have, something unique to the phase they're in. You're onto something. This is going to be cool.
Yeah, it's funny because we're in this gray area with even how the government classifies our products because it's, when you take out the alcohol, or you don't make it with a lot of alcohol, that's one thing, but now you're making it without traditional ingredients. So they're like, what is this? So I think to your point, there's another name that is on the horizon for what this category is even called.
Yeah. And there's a lot of obviously adaptogenic drinks that are great for women for different phases, but nothing's been marketed to do that yet. I've even tried to like partner with Green Chef, the food kits the
Yeah.
food delivery kits. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you need to develop, they have keto, they have paleo, they have vegan, vegetarian. I'm like, you need to develop this is for a woman in the ovulatory phase of her cycle, like these meals, like this is for her, luteal phase. I'm like, it will sell, I swear, because women are all into it's booming, trying to understand her hormones. And if you market through the lens of a woman's hormones and what's happening there, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, no,
I told you first. I'll tell you first.
I was going to say, like, I got a lot of great info from this conversation, and trust me, my
Yeah.
superpower is taking this information, ingesting it, and making it marketable in some way. Because I think, yeah, I mean, we're halfway there in terms of what you're saying. It's just a matter, and we can make our own waters and seltzers and all that. It doesn't have to be beer. Like those are a lot easier to make than beer. Beer takes a long time.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm excited to see what you do next. Thank you so much for your time today. And head on over to gobrewing.com, guys, and use my code LE15% and stock up for the holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.